Hey, Cookies here. Let's talk about the Dispriest Mage Tower. I've been seeing that the strategy that most people have been going with, and most like guides out there are telling people to go with, the initial like impression, I guess, of this Mage Tower challenge was to just do what you did back in Legion, which is incredibly difficult and very, very challenging. But there is a method that people are using right now. I don't know if people used it back in Legion. I didn't play very much back then. Um, but the new method that people are kind of discovering and starting to share now is the one that I'm also going to show you today. And it doesn't completely trivialize the entire challenge. It's still challenging, but it reduces a lot of the difficulty curve in this entire challenge, especially as the fight goes on. So the only thing is you can see my talents up here at the top left. The only ones that matter specifically are going to be um, the Mindbender and the Psychic Voice talents, which Mindbender we're going to be using, which is very important, and Psychic Voice we need to reduce cooldown on Psychic Scream. Other than that, you can pretty much go with anything. I would only play Lenience. I would only play Schism just for damage, but the rest of the rows really don't matter too much. So play whatever you feel comfortable with. Most people are running Divine Star. I preferred Purge the Wicked, but it all just depends. Soulbinds, legendaries, all that stuff do not matter whatsoever, so you can ignore that. So when we go right into this fight, I don't remember all the mechanics off the top of my head, and I don't have a list of them, unfortunately, so I'm just going to have to go over them as they happen. So bear with me here instead of me explaining it at the very beginning. So we have two bosses. We have Tugar Blood Totem, and we have the Worm. I'm just going to call it the Worm just to make it simple. So Tugar and the Worm. Uh, Tugar is going to cast our first important ability, which is right here. It's Fell Burst. We have two abilities that will permanently deal with this ability throughout the entire encounter, which is Psychic Scream and Mindbender and Fade. So I know that sounds like three abilities, but it's two. So just think of Mindbender and Fade together, and then Psychic Scream. So, for instance, this first cast, we're going to use Psychic Scream, I believe. Or maybe I end up tanking. Oh, do I not end up tanking this one? Okay. Sorry. There's one thing to mention, and it's that the first few fell bursts that this boss does is going to be like really offset and not scripted, and they're gonna hit you even if you use this like Psychic Scream Mindbender strategy. So the best thing to do is just get in the rhythm that I'm gonna show you, which is using Psychic Scream on that first one, and then after that, I'll tell you when to use Mindbender, and then you just repeat that pattern over and over, even if he's not casting Fellburst. And then if he does cast Fellburst when you don't have one of those abilities available, like if you're not able to fear him or you don't have Mindbender tanking him, then um, you're just going to use a external on yourself for a defensive, which the defenses you can rotate through are going to be Paints Up, you can just use by itself, Barrier you can also use by itself, and then Rapture, just by applying a big shield on yourself. And then you can kind of throw Desperate Prayer in wherever you feel like it's necessary. Okay, so the next important ability is this debuff that we're going to get. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I don't know if I have it pop up on my frames. But you will get this dispellable dot right here. I think it just popped up on the weak auras that I have. Sorry if I'm like rewinding back and looking at things. I just don't remember this fight entirely. Fell Shock. So this just needs to be dispelled when it's on us. Very straightforward. Dispel it as soon as you get it or as soon as you possibly can. You're also going to get these like this cross section of swirlies. You just need to not be standing them. You have plenty of time to move out, so don't completely panic and move instantly. You have a few seconds. So like you can see how long it sits there for. So you can move out whenever you feel like you have the opportunity to. Okay, so the other mechanic, it's not really a mechanic, but just the like the way the fight works is the worm has I believe 90% damage reduction right now, so you just do not target him with anything. You can dot him if you want, but that's why I took Purge the Wicked so that I don't have to worry about sitting there and refreshing a dot on him over and over. So you're just going to focus Tugar the entire time, but by the end of the fight, the goal is to get them both down together as closely as possible. But Tugar does. I believe we want to like ideally you want to kill the worm first and then Tugar, but I think in this fight I end up killing Tugar first, and I think that might be because of Purge the Wicked, or maybe I just did too much damage at the start of the fight. I'm honestly not sure, but either way, the worm is the goal target to kill first. Okay, and then this is where the second phase of the fight happens, and after this, it's just going to repeat forever. So I'm just going to explain this, and then that's pretty much it. So you're going to have these rocks with swirly spawn, don't get hit by them, and then you're going to have these eggs spawn, dot them as soon as they spawn, and then you're going to run into the middle here, and then what's going to happen, again, this is going to be offset, so don't freak out when it doesn't happen right here, but for the rest of the fight, after Tugar is done casting Earthquake, he's going to immediately do a Fell Burst on you. So what you do is you cast Mindbender. So I just casted Mindbender just now, the last cast, and then as soon as that Earthquake is about to be finished casting or finished casting, you're going to fade. So there we fade, and now he targets the Mindbender with the Fell Burst, and now we don't get hit by it. And now he won't do another Fell Burst again once we get into the flow of the actual encounter rather than like the offset that he has at the beginning for some reason. He won't cast another one until we go back and have a Psychic Scream ready. So it just rotates Psychic Scream in phase 1 to interrupt the Fell Burst, and then Mindbender plus Fade to essentially interrupt the Fell Burst in phase 2. I will also mention trying to stand Tugar in the middle here and hitting these worms with Mindsear. But what is the most important thing in this first phase is not hitting Tugar. It is making the worm hit these rocks that fell down in the phase. So you can see the rocks that fell down. The worm will dash around the room, and then, like right now, he's dashing around randomly, but you're going to see him pop up out of the ground. And right there, that's when he targets you with the next dash. So you need to be in the way of the next rock from wherever he pops up, and then he'll run through the rock, and you want to get all 3 rocks gone, which means I think he only does it twice, so you have to hit 2 with 1 dash and then 1 with the last dash, or the other way around. But either way, make sure that you are focusing on getting the worm to hit the rocks and not focusing damage on Tugar. You do not need to worry about damage on Tugar whatsoever. Okay, and then there we go. We Psychic Scream to interrupt the Fell Burst. We're dispelling the Fell Shock. And then that is the last mechanic of the fight that I will mention is right here. You can see there are these, sorry, the video is like so long, so it's difficult to, you know. Oh, I see what's happening now. Okay. Well, I was using the recording from my attempts and not my kills. So let me pull up the video for my kill, which would be this one. Sorry about that. And then we'll just fast forward it a little bit to where we were. I think in this one, I save Psychic Scream on that first one, and we just tank this. No, okay, it's still the exact same. Okay, then we won't worry about anything. We're just going to fast forward a little bit to the point to where we get to where everything's like kind of set in stone. So here's the example of the fight from start to finish, and now that we've kind of explained all the mechanics. So, Fell Burst, Psychic Scream to interrupt it. There we go. Still focusing damage onto Tugar. You can see how many stacks the worm has right here. Once the worm has about 2 or less stacks, you can start focusing the worm. But until then, you should just be focusing Tugar the entire time. Here we go into the phase. I'm dotting these up and also trying to get into a position where the worm is going to dash through the rocks. So there we go. I stand right here because he pops up. There's only 2 spots that he pops up first, which is going to be right here where he's at. And then if you follow my mouse, he'll pop up over here. So basically, you can try to, like, you know, guess where he's going depending on which way he starts out the encounter and starts moving. And then just plan to have him hit 2 rocks at the same time on the first dash. There's the Fell Burst on the Mindbender. And the strategy that I use here, I will rewind it back a bit. So what we're going to do is, because Tugar is casting Earthquake, while he's doing that, I just run out into the middle of the room. And let me go back to the start of the intermission real quick. So here's the Earthquake. We dot up these eggs while we're moving. And then I'm going to stand in the middle of the eggs, get Tugar over here, cast my Mindbender, and then right when that Earthquake expires, this is a little bit less ideal, but when you fade, Tugar will stand still even if you have to dodge out of the way of the worm, which means if you can have him in the middle of the eggs or the ads at all while he's tanking your Mindbender, you can just sit there and Mindsear him, like I think you'll see here. I just start Mindsearing him. It doesn't reach, I don't think it's reaching this far one, so that's the downside. But basically try to keep Tugar in the middle of all the ads when you fade and have Mindbender out so that he stays in the middle of all the ads. I think we can see a better example if like I go to another phase. So again, this is the whole entire fight. It's literally just rinse and repeats from here. So we interrupt with Psychic Scream. This time I'm killing the worm now because his stacks are all gone. I dispel myself. We kill the totem. Sonic Scream is a mechanic that the worm does. It starts doing damage, a lot of damage towards the end of the fight, but mostly just don't be casting when it finishes casting because it's just an interrupt. Other than that, it doesn't really do much. The main thing is just understanding the whole like Tugar mechanic. So here's Earthquake. Again, we're going to dot up these eggs. We're going to run out into the middle of all three of them. I'm going to Mindbender right about now. And then we're going to fade. And now see Tugar will stand in the middle of all three ads. And I can just freely Mindsear him. I can move around and then I can Mindsear again. But then when he Fel Burst that Mindbender and it dies, we need to make sure he stays in the middle. And we're literally just Mindsearing all of these ads down. You honestly don't even have to dot them if you don't want to. But I just felt like the extra damage was nice because sometimes if I walked away and they weren't dead yet, the dot would finish them off. And that helped a lot. And then I just bring Tugar back kind of towards the edge so that when the worm comes back, it's very straightforward. And once the worm is at 0 stacks, you do not need to run him through any more of the rocks on the floor, so you don't need to worry about that. As far as I know, it doesn't do like damage to him or anything. It just reduces his stacks, so once he's at 0 stacks, it is irrelevant. And then we're focusing the worm, and then now I'm just going to show you this one more time. It's just rinse and repeat. Kill the totem, dispel ourselves if we get the debuff, don't cast during Sonic Scream, use Psychic Scream to interrupt Tugar. So Tugar's going to cast here shortly. Did he? Oh, did he already? He must have already done it like early on in the phase because we used it. Oh, okay, yeah, he used it like as we went back. So we left the intermission, we came back to the worm, and there's the dispel, there's the Fel Burst, we Psychic Scream, and then we stand here and do damage, kill the totem, and then there's no more Fel Burst. He goes into the intermission, Earthquake, dot up all the eggs, bring Tugar in the middle, Mindbender, fade, and spam Mindsear. Spam Mindsear until all the ads are dead, dispel myself. Just making sure I don't get run over by the worm, so I'm moving around a little bit, kill the totem, bring Tugar back, rinse and repeat permanently, and that is the entire fight. And then you want to make sure that you kill, like I mentioned, you want to kill the worm first. So try to watch your damage on Tugar, especially during the intermission and stuff, because what happens here is I end up killing Tugar pretty early, and that's a big problem. And I think it's because of Purge the Wicked, so that's why maybe Purge the Wicked isn't super ideal. But I think I just needed to focus less damage into Tugar early on into the fight and stuff like that. Or get back on, like get on the worm early. Because what happens is I kill Tugar here, and then the worm does 100, I think it's 150 or 100% increased damage for the rest of the fight. So like you're gonna see how close. I'll just show you the end of this fight, and then we'll end the video there. So hopefully that was helpful. I hope it wasn't too confusing. And yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for watching. Oh, it hurts so bad. I had to use literally every defensive ever. Rapture. Trying to kill it. Heal myself up real quick. Because the like its regular auto attacks are just absolutely annihilating me. And then this Sonic Scream would have definitely killed me because I had no defenses, so I just used Psychic Scream to interrupt it. And then we got it. And that's it. So enjoy doing the Mage Tower, guys. See you later.